Yeah, the first one on the Veerling one, I just think he got caught not playing fast enough. He threw off balance, and Neto did a really good job of running to complete the whole play. And he gave himself a chance to make a decision at third base to go. So obviously, we got caught not playing fast enough, and he gave himself an opportunity to complete the play. So, um, and then I just like Wetzel misjudged it or didn't see it. I got to get a different angle. I saw the iPad, but it looked like he was tracking it, and then it started to get closer to the ball. And then I don't know if he just missed it, or if he misjudged it, or if it wasn't even catchable. I got
JJ Hinch sounds very frustrated.
Sounds really frustrated. More frustrated than I've probably heard him since he's been here lately. I feel like.
Yeah, look, the Veerling play. I'm sorry, and I like Matt Veerling. There's no excuse for that. There just isn't.
No,
you're supposed to play faster. The other team is frustrated as you are, although they're coming off a sweep of the Rangers. So now they've won 4 in a row. The other team's just as frustrated, if not more, on their season that you are, and they're hustling. And this is what happens, man. It feels like you don't care. That's not true, okay? I know it. But the optics are that you don't try as hard, you don't care as much, you're not as emotionally involved, you've checked out. That is not the case. Trust me, it is not the case with Matt Veerling or the players in that clubhouse. But that's the optics people gather when you make plays like that.
Yeah, I believe that 100% that they're not. Like, they are trying. I almost guarantee it, just being around enough athletes like that in my life. But you're going to have a hard time arguing it when you're making plays like that. Like, I mean, people are going to have every reason to point to it.
Yeah, when somebody says, show me the proof. If you want to go Tom Cruise, show me the money, show me the proof. And it's hard to do that, okay? It would be hard for you and I to convince somebody otherwise when you see a play like that, okay? It's hard to convince people otherwise that certain people are as good as they are or should be playing when they're making plays in right field like Wenceel Perez. You're trying to convince a baseball fan base that guy's a right fielder. And this is not an isolated incident. This is something we've seen before. There's a reason that his wins above replacement is as bad as it is. There's a reason people fear him in right field. Your best right fielder was in center field last night. As much as you may like Kerry Carpenter, he's not a good right fielder. As much as you may think Wenceel Perez, you'd rather rely on what he's done in the past before this year, he's not a good right fielder. This has been the issue for me for years with this organization. They want to make everybody into a Swiss Army knife instead of somebody who specializes in one specific position. And it kills them over and over and over. We're seeing it almost on a nightly basis. They are one of the worst fielding teams in baseball. And I told you before the season began, and I said it a year ago, I am uncomfortable with how this team is set up defensively. But when you make the playoffs a year ago, even though this team last year, as of July 9th, after beating Tampa, was 59-34, they proceeded to go 29-41, 7-17 in September, and now they are 21 wins and 34 losses. Were we fooled by a playoff appearance from a year ago or the year before that? Go ahead, have all the fun you want. Do the walk and talks with players all you want. Bring them on out here and have, Tom Selleck night and guys taking their shirts off and all that other stuff. That's great for a moment. That shifts your focus for a moment. The bottom line, especially in a baseball season where it's really hard to play in 162 games and it wears on you, but you're on every single night, is how the team performs. Take all the questions you want during rain delays. In the end, How the team plays is the most important. And people right now, like it or not, are disgusted with the way this team plays on a night-to-night basis. They are frustrated. I feel bad for them to a certain extent. I said this as I got ready to watch the game last night. I said, it doesn't matter it doesn't matter if they win tonight. And it doesn't matter if they win this series. And the reason I say that is because most negative people will go, yeah, but it's the Angels.
Exactly.
They're not very good. You should beat them. What does that prove? It doesn't solve your issues. All these other things, which isn't necessarily fair, because if you're going to lose to that team and you're going to go into a deeper slump mentally and physically watching this team, then you can't sit there and tell me that that's fair either. So wins are wins, series are series. You get a chance to win the series, that's great. But how this team has played is the underlying theme where people are most disgusted. That bullpen continues to struggle.
Yep, I was just going to bring that up. They have 11 blown leads in the 6th inning or later. No other team in the MLB has more than 8.
Correct. The MLB average is 5.
That's crazy.
Okay? That's how bad it is. Andy, since July 8th of a year ago, when they beat Tampa, they have a winning percentage of .395. What does that have to do with the injured list?
Not a lot. And that's the thing is, Scott Harris wanted to point out how this roster might look the same, but they're, whatever the comment was, well, they are a lot the same. Injuries
yeah,
are
the
not.
comment in a nutshell, what Andy's referring to, in case people had forgotten a year ago, is that Scott Harris basically says just because it's the same lineup doesn't mean that they're going to have the same results. In other words, this team is going to, the young guys, this team in general, just because it's the same lineup doesn't mean they're going to hit the same. Well, you're right. They're worse.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Okay.
It's gotten worse. Yeah.
And by saying that, and I'm not suggesting that he's wrong. Okay. The A's have a similar lineup and they're a little bit better. It's how you say it. Okay. Whether we
100%
agree with it or not.
Yeah.
The perception, and I'm not saying it's right, but the perception is I am the smartest guy in the room. When you come off like that, that can be a tough thing to sell to fans.
Yeah,
if you don't.
It's 100% the way he delivered that answer that makes people think that way, because he basically was kind of like, well, I understand why you would think that. You know what I mean? Like, you're not a baseball guy, or you don't
exactly.
That's why, because
and he didn't say that, but
no, not exactly.
That's the inference.
That's what you're getting. Yeah.
That's what you're getting out of it. I don't think PR people do this with bigwigs, unfortunately. If you try to help them, you're almost viewed as, a handler and almost disrespectful. But it's oftentimes, and I don't know how this works. All right. It's an area where I'm just unclear. If the PR people are there, do they say to him, hey man, just out of curiosity, what are you going to say? Because these are the questions you're going to get. What are you going to say? It's really important to be able to handle certain questions in a certain way. So when they say you're bringing back the same lineup as you had a year ago, what makes you think things are going to be different? You should talk about individuals instead of generics. We expect 30-plus homers out of Spencer Torkelson. We expect a patient Colt Keith. We expect, instead of saying, well, hey, listen, just because it's the same names doesn't mean it's going to be the same results, is condescending. There was a moment last night where you're thinking to yourself, are you kidding me? We'll get to that coming up here on X's and Bros. A little bit later on, Max Bultman of The Athletic will join us 8:35 to talk Red Wings. Glad you're with us on a Wednesday morning, brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth.
Huge here for the Carmody Brothers and all the Buffalo Wild Wings locations in Michigan. They have some huge deals happening every week. Buy one boneless wing, get one free every Thursday. They also have their bottomless appetizers. Groups can get bottomless apps starting at $9.99, and they also have the Pick Six meal for two. Get 2 entrees, 2 sides, and 2 drinks starting at $19.99. That's happening at all Buffalo Wild Wings locations in Michigan. Huge deals every week.
The stock market goes up and then it goes down. It's fine while you're saving for retirement, but as you get closer to retirement, it can cause stress. Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. In my NFL days, the season could be a real roller coaster and a lot of fun, but roller coasters in retirement aren't as much fun. Do world events have you wondering if your retirement is safe? Will your money last even if the stock market were to take a dive? Have you had your retirement account stress tested to see what kind of risk you're actually taking? Let's not leave your retirement to chance. Hope is not a plan. Contact the pros at Mitch Lyons Wealth today and put us to work for you. Let's ensure your plan works even if the stock market doesn't. Text PLAN, P-L-A-N, to 844-867-8335. That's PLAN to 844-867-8335. MitchLyonsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. Investment advisory services are offered to MLW Advisory Services, LLC, DBA Mitch Lyons Wealth, a registered investment advisor.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu. What's up, Michigan? You're listening to my good friend Shep. The Huge Show is coming up later today at 3, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
He's the right guy. Yeah, we had 2 outs in a He's the right guy. Yeah, we had 2 outs and a runner on first with Will Best and the ball in his hand, so he can make this if he did that happen. I know we don't like it when it doesn't happen, but he can get it.
AJ Hinch at his press conference last night following his team's 10-6 loss to the, I was going to say lowly Angels, but I don't know if that's necessarily fair. Logan O'Hoppe, who's their catcher, came into the game 10 for 68 with 1 extra base hit against right-handed pitchers. And off Will Vest delivered a 2-out double on the ball that Wenzel Perez seemed to have tracking at the wall only to come up empty. So Will Vest now in 16 innings has allowed 14 earned runs. Here's my question for a lot of people. I haven't even gotten through the damn headlines. My apologies. Spurs lost to OKC last night. Let me do this real quick, okay? In case you missed it, I'm sure you already know, but OKC won at 127-114. They're up 3-2 in the Western Conference Finals. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander had 32. Alex Caruso added 22. Game 6 is tomorrow in San Antonio. And Vegas finishes the sweep of Colorado 2-1. The Knights headed to their 3rd Stanley Cup final in 9 years of existence. The Avs, who won the President's Trophy, had been 8-1 in the playoffs until running into Las Vegas. Who's the last President's Trophy winner to win the Cup? Do you know?
No, I don't.
Chicago in 2013.
Wow.
Listen to this, just real quick.
It seems like it just seems like a long time ago for me. I felt like like someone had since then. That's surprising to me.
Yeah, I agree. Listen to this real quick. The Washington Capitals this year had 43 wins. Okay? They had 95 points. They had the same number of points, but more wins than Vegas, who's going to the Stanley Cup Finals. The Islanders had 43 wins. They didn't make the playoffs. New Jersey Devils had more wins than Vegas, didn't make the playoffs. Detroit Red Wings, 41 wins, more wins than Vegas, didn't make the playoffs. Columbus Blue Jackets, 40 wins, didn't make the playoffs, and more wins than Vegas. Panthers had more wins than Vegas. Sharks had 39 wins, same as Vegas, but fewer points, so it's kind of a moot point. But the others are solid. None of them made the playoffs. Vegas not just makes the playoffs, they're in the Stanley Cup Finals, man.
That's
because they won a really weak division. Yeah, they won the Pacific. I don't know if you know this. Their 39 wins in the Pacific, not as good as the team that finished behind them. Edmonton had 41 wins, and they finished second in the division. So they're playing at the right time. They made the coaching change at the right time, John Tortorella. And obviously their playoff experiences has really helped them an awful lot too. I'm not telling you that the system is broken. Do you look at that in a negative and say, I can't believe a team with fewer wins is going to the Stanley Cup Finals and those other teams didn't even make the playoffs? Or do you look at it like, you know what? Anything can happen in sports. It's the beauty of what sports gives me on a night-to-night basis. That's into the eyes of the beholder, I suppose. Anyway, here's the Mitch Lyons Wealth poll question of the day. These are not easy things to talk about if you're a Detroit sports fan. But which year did J.B. Bickerstaff deserve Coach of the Year? 2025, when he went from 14 to 44. 2026, when he won 60 games, despite Cade Cunningham missing, how many did he miss? Let's see, he played 64 games, so he missed 18 games, right? That's right. Jalen Duren missed 12 games, right? Because he played 70. He only had one guy play all 82, and it was Javonte Green, for crying out loud. He helped Duren become an all-NBA player, Asar Thompson become all-first-team defense. He didn't do it on his own, but he helped him. Put him in situations to be successful, okay? Or we give you the option of both years or neither. whichever you want. Vote as often as you want. At XB Mornings, I've retweeted it as well. That's got to piss a lot of Pistons fans off, and rightfully so. They had a historic jump a year ago, 14-44.
Yeah, not getting it last year is still what throws me off more than anything else. I don't. What's
Didn't
the point of the
acquire an
award?
all-star. Did not acquire an all-star. Didn't make a major move. He gets 44 wins. He finishes second to Kenny Atkinson, who won 64 games and led Cleveland to the number 1 seed in the East. Then you flip it and you say, okay, here's what we did.
Right.
We lead this team to the number 1 seed in the East with 60 wins. I think it's just the 4th time in history of the franchise they had 60 wins or more. They were without a lot of their key players. He helped those players elevate their game a little bit. Won games like this with Dennis Jenkins and Javonte Green and Paul Reed, and as much as you may like them, they were not household names outside of Detroit, Michigan. Hell, Dennis Jenkins wasn't even a household name in Michigan until he started going off a little bit. So he has taken the worst team in franchise history to back-to-back playoff performances and incredible winning percentages.
Yeah,
that nobody would have seen.
It's impossible for me to have the name or the award be named that without him getting it one of those 2 years. Like, how is he not the coach of the year one of those years? I just don't get it. Like with the roster he has. But
now, can I use the reverse logic this year?
Sure.
Joe Mazzulla leads Boston, who, by the way, earlier in the year said he's not a huge fan of the award. He becomes the first Boston coach to win the award since Bill Fitch in 1980.
But I get it without Tatum and stuff.
Okay, so, well, yeah, it's a big deal. That's a superstar.
Yeah, for
Jason
sure.
Tatum's a superstar. 56 wins, hell of an accomplishment. Really was. I don't understand the disparity. 82 votes for him. Or 62, I'm sorry. 62 votes for him. Thinking number of games in a season. Bickerstaff, 29. First place votes. Frustrating as all get out. It's gotta really tick people off, and I get it. But as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I really think JB Bickerstaff was coach of the year. So let's get into this Tigers situation and what the hell's going on with this team and the 8th inning and all this other stuff. And it's a really tough watch, especially in the 8th inning. They don't make a play in right field off the bat of Logan O'Hoppe. Vest stays out there, and that's the unique thing for me. I don't. You want to leave him in. 30 pitches is a lot for a reliever. In an inning, and he leaves him in, and then he gives up the grand slam. The game flips like that. The problem is, and Chris McCoskey tweeted this out last night, so credit where credit is due, nobody was warming up until Will Vest hit 30 pitches. And despite his struggles, there was a constant look. He hasn't been himself anyway. Remember, this is a guy who pitched in the World Baseball Classic for Team USA. It's not like he doesn't have good stuff. I don't know if he's tipping his pitches. I don't know if he's getting in too much of a routine where pitchers are guessing properly. I don't know if there isn't enough movement on certain pitches that he throws. We just know he hasn't been effective at all. Folks, I don't even think it's the perfect storm, quite honestly. I've heard people say that before. The perfect storm would be having Kevin McGonigal not involved in anything. That would be the perfect storm against Detroit. All these injuries, all these guys playing so poorly, and their prize rookie not playing well. The difference is their prize rookie is playing well. If I put fork to nose to you and said, give me one good thing about last night, you know what you would say. You sure as hell wouldn't be talking about the bullpen. You wouldn't be talking about starting pitching, and you sure as hell wouldn't be talking about the defense. You'd be talking about Kevin McGonigal, because he went 3 for 4 and was on base 4 times. He drove in a couple of runs. I know people got excited. Zach McKinstry with a couple of sacrifice flies early on. Woohoo! Great. You know what I want? I want rallies to continue.
Yeah, it feels like even when they score the runs, though, it's like they just still don't get enough out of it. It's insane.
Bases loaded.
I walked the dog during the during our dogs during the one, like it happened to be when they loaded the bases last night, and I saw no outs. I was like, okay, they're gonna, this is gonna be the game against the Angels where they're gonna blow this wide open. And instead, it's 5-4 when they check it. I'm just like, great, can't wait to come back and watch the rest of this.
Yeah, and look. They got 3 runs in the 5th, which is great.
Yeah.
But what you're referring to is when you get the opportunity.
You got to blow it wide open, man. You got to win the game right there.
Absolutely. Those are the things you got to take advantage of. There's no doubt about it. Instead, what do you have? You have and the thing is there's only 1 out. That's the frustrating part about it. Torkelson strikes out. McKinstry strikes out.
Yeah, Torkelson, man. The numbers have not been good outside of that 1 week with the 5 home runs. That's for sure.
Yeah. So there's part of the issue right there. 10-6, the final last night. I'll try and make up for it here tonight. I saw a post last night on social media that had the 2026 AL Central Super Team. In other words, the guys who are having the best years. Chase DeLauder in Cleveland, they put in right field. They put in Byron Buxton in center field. They put Riley Green in left. Don't disagree with that. All right. They put Murakami from Chicago at first base. They put Travis Bazzana from Cleveland at second base. Bobby Witt Jr. at short. Kevin McGonigal at third. Parker Messick as the pitcher because he's been really good. He's been outstanding for Cleveland. It's been amazing what he's been able to do. Miguel Vargas as the DH and Dylan Dingler at catcher. And my immediate thought was, you put 3 guys from the Tigers, and yet this team is 21-34. This is a hard question to answer, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What's their biggest issue? Is it bullpen? Is it defense? Is it offense? I mean, when you won't, their offense is anemic, but their defense is pathetic. I'm not saying defense suddenly wins them games, but you and I both know this. A good right fielder makes that play in right. You don't have to be a great.
That's the thing.
You don't have to be a great right fielder. You don't have to be Al Kaline or Roberto Clemente or Dwight Evans in right field to make that play. You don't.
No.
You have to be competent. And
a major league player, man. I mean, that's really what that feels like. Like if you're in the major leagues, you should probably make that catch. You know what I mean?
100%.
But yeah, to pin it on one thing is really hard. I would like to pin it on the pitching, but the defense is a huge part of it too, because it seems like sometimes when they could get out of some of these situations, their defense puts them in the situation too. So it's like, who really gets more of the blame there? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I said it yesterday on here, like the bullpen has been an issue for me because it seems like they do have, as bad as they are and as they don't get enough runs on offense, they do have some leads late in games. And if you could win even, I don't know, half of those games that we talked about, the 11 that they've blown after 6 innings, I mean, their record at least isn't this bad, right? I mean, like they wouldn't be this bad. So I don't know.
Okay, well, I think that's a fair comment, and I don't disagree with it. But going into the season, when I said Drew Anderson and Emmanuel DeJesus, who you were still looking up,
yeah, oh yeah, for sure,
and an older Kenley Jansen at age 38. Sorry, even though what he did a year ago. What were you expecting?
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. I guess I did not expect Kenley Jansen to be this bad. I definitely didn't expect
Ricky Vanasco for crying out loud.
I mean, the names are insane outside of what they had at the top.
I expected more from Will Vest. I expected more from Kyle Finnegan. I expected more from Tyler Holden.
But also maybe this is what, like you kind of mentioned, like maybe this is what this team sold to us, when they were good. Because like remember, like what was it, 2 years ago now? and maybe into last year a little bit, but it did feel like their pitching wasn't like as good as it was a couple of years ago, and they made that long run. It was always Chris Fetter, man. Like Chris Fetter, like, was changing these guys you never heard of and turning them into some arm, right? And I feel like that was kind of something they leaned on, like time and time again. So you felt like maybe with him as the pitching coach that he was going to be able to get that out of him again, because I guess they've been able to do it enough times. But last year, the deadline when they got Paddock and Charlie Morton, that didn't work. And some of the arms
but he's not a miracle. He's not a miracle worker.
That's
he is not a guy.
I
mean, pitching coach. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a Leo Mazzoni back in the day, Roger Craig back in the day, Mike Maddox back in the day. It's really hard for pitching coaches. They're not sprinkling a little magic dust over the bullpen and saying, "Here we go, you're cured." You still have to execute the pitches. It's the same thing in hitting coaches. I'm not saying they're not important. I'm not saying they can't have an impact. They absolutely can. But in the end, Spencer Torkelson's the one in the batter's box.
100%.
He's the one who has to have the right approach. He has to be the one who swings at the right pitches and make contact at the right pitches. So there's only so much you can do. That's why I hesitate always in giving them so much credit to work with certain guys. Okay? Maybe it's very similar to Hank Fraley as the offensive line coach for the Detroit Lions. He's had some really good players. I'm not taking anything away from him. I'm just saying he's had some really good players. You get Frank Ragnow and Penei Sewell and Taylor Decker, and you had a really good in Kevin Zeitler veteran. That's going to make your resume look a little bit better.
Oh, 100%. And he might have made it work with some names for a while that weren't great, but at some point people are going to see some film on you and stuff like that.
Do you think he changed his method
when
Graham Glasgow became the starting center and Christian Mahogany was the left guard and Tate Ratledge was the right guard? Suddenly you got different personnel. It matters. I don't think Chris Fetter's out there saying to Will Vest, don't forget, get behind 2-0 to Vaughn Grisham and then groove a 95-mile-an-hour four-seamer.
Yeah, but at some point it's beyond what he can control regardless. I'm
not alleviating him from any blame. I'm just saying there's so much given to them credit when things are going great and perhaps way too much blame when it's not.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not even trying to blame Chris Fetter with my reasoning on it. I'm just saying that I feel like people might have leaned into that a lot, and that's why people might have thought the bullpen would have been, fine coming into the season, just because he's been able to get that out of play. I mean, everybody talked about Michael Lorenz and then Jack Flaherty when he was changed for a while and stuff like that. But eventually these things catch up to themselves, no matter what it seems like.
No question. We've got some texts that I want to get to. We've got plenty more to discuss here on X's and Bros. We're glad you're with us on a Wednesday morning. We've got things figured out on the stream, so join us in the chat as we stream live on YouTube, on X, and, of course, on Facebook.
Rod Stewart returns to Soaring Eagle Thursday, September 3rd. The Soaring Eagle Summer Outdoor Concert Series with special guest Richard Marks. Tickets start at $71 and are on sale now at the box office and etix.com. One last time, Rod Stewart with Richard Marks, September 3rd, SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Huge here for the incredible Crystal Mountain Resort in Thompsonville, Michigan. If you've never experienced the mountain, it's unbelievable. They offer up 36 holes of championship golf. Betsy Valley, Mountain Ridge, accommodations, a ton of choices. Go to crystalmountain.com, see everything for yourself. One of the top spas in America. They can handle businesses, small groups, big groups, your buddies, the ladies, and more. Book your getaway now at crystalmountain.com. That's crystalmountain.com.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the newly opened Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to have recently opened the center in Farmington Hills. It provides exercise therapy and educational programs that are helping the Parkinson's community. just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality for their clients' retirements. This center helps improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center is available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right, absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and their care partners.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact the Kirk Gibson Center is making in the fight against Parkinson's.
Mitch, since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center encourages others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
Van Andel Institute Purple Community is a grassroots fundraising network powered by the dedicated volunteers who support VAI's mission to improve human health now and in the future. When you raise funds through the Van Andel Institute Purple Community, 100% of the proceeds go directly to the Institute's research into diseases like cancer and Parkinson's, as well as VAI's science education programs. Learn how you can get involved at purplecommunity.org.
Celebrate the soul of folk and Americana. The Lumineers Automatic World Tour comes to Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort Sunday night, July 19th, with special guest Josiah and the Bonnevilles, part of the Soaring Eagle Outdoor Summer Concert Series. Tickets start at $67 and are on sale now at the box office or online at etix.com. Showtime 8 p.m. See the Lumineers live with Josiah and the Bonnevilles, July 19th at Soaring Eagle Casino, SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Where are you watching the Tigers this year? Superfly Hayes here for Detroit Sportsnet. Sign up like the Ute Show did with the Detroit Sportsnet Tigers Wings package. Subscription info at tigers.com and MLB.com.
I thought to myself, Andy, last night, I thought tomorrow is going to be challenging to be super positive. Because I don't think people want to go and start their Wednesday morning going to work like, oh man, they, pounding the dashboard of their car.
It's been hard to be positive in general.
Hitting the steering wheel of their car.
It's not getting any better. Yeah.
Pounding on the console of their car. But when you lose the way the Tigers did, and look, you and I both can agree, they look lifeless. They really do. I mean, I said this last week, I think it stands true. It's almost as if they're waiting for something bad to happen. The JB Bickerstaff news that came out is frustrating, I think, for a lot of Pistons fans. I don't think it's anything against Joe Mazzulla, because I think Joe Mazzulla's done a really good job in Boston. I think anybody who follows basketball and can look objectively would agree that he should have been in that conversation. I'm surprised at the margin of victory for NBA Coach of the Year. And I guess when you look at what certain other news that came out, Josh Jacobs, and the ridiculous nature of how he allegedly has treated a significant other and what he stands to lose. And then Derwin James signing a 3-year extension with the Chargers, what that means to Brian Branch. I was like, holy cow, how do you spin certain positives the next day? Because Andy doesn't want to wake up to this either. I mean, who does? I wouldn't. I'd be like, come on, man, can we talk? Here's a positive. But the problem is no one cares enough. It was my hero from yesterday. I said the EMU women's golf team. They beat Texas yesterday to reach the semifinals of the women's golf national championships. Now, they lost to Stanford, but they beat Texas, the host team, the team that had the National Player of the Year. If you're looking for one of the better stories in college sports, not just golf, but college sports for 2025-2026. Indiana's right there, right? For sure. The losingest program in college football history wins a national championship. But EMU's women's golf team is right up there. They had never made it this far. They'd never even made it. They were ranked over 200 going into the season. And they're going to end up being a top 5 program this year. That's nuts. USC is going to play Stanford for the championship this year. But that was a hell of a run for them. That's a big positive. If you want to look at it and you're trying to find something in the sports world that matters to us, even just a little bit.
I saw that story going everywhere yesterday, man, after you mentioned it. That was pretty cool. That's awesome.
It really is.
I think people should take that into I got something else, I guess, positive if you want it. But at the men's worlds for the for hockey, some of the Red Wings players are there now, and some of the Griffins players that went there. Michael Branson Nygaard already has 3 goals, and he's only been there since the weekend. So that's pretty cool. Like I said, he's been playing well, like going through the playoffs for the Griffins, even though their season ended early, and he's looked really good since he's been over there. So I think that's really good news to see so far.
Yeah, good. So we've got a couple of things. We're trying, folks. We're trying.
You gotta look right now.
We know it's frustrating. You got to dig deep, and unfortunately, those are only. Well, one of them, mine, was just one has a span of 24 hours. So tomorrow we're gonna have to find something, even if the Tigers win.
Well, no, because I felt like last night too. Like if you had any little bit of hope left for the Tigers, if you were still thinking like they could make this comeback this year or whatever, you're thinking to yourself, this is when they're going to do it because it's the Angels, right? Like kind of like what we mentioned earlier in the show. You were probably thinking that to yourself going into it, and to give up the grand slam the way that they did that late in the game with 2 outs and to load it just feels like it was like burying them last night is what it felt like. I don't know. I mean, I know it's baseball. You wake up every day and there's another game, and then it could change in 2 seconds, but it just felt like that to me.
Let me ask you this question, and just to try and gain some consistency here. Okay. They play 162 games. All right. How many games do you think it's going to take to win the division?
How many wins, like in a row?
Yeah.
Or like how many wins total?
How many wins total will it take to win the division?
I don't think Cleveland State. I would say like 88, maybe.
Okay.
88.
88?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So if it's 88, that means they've got to win 67 more games. Okay. What they've got to do now is they've got to go, 67-39 the rest of the way, right?
That would be it.
Is my math correct?
That sounds right. Yeah. It sounds
Okay.
not unrealistic.
Well, I was just going to ask you, do you think that is doable?
No, I don't. Not with this team. I don't. But I mean, is it doable? Yes, but like just from what I'm watching, I'm not gonna buy into it. No.
Okay. Me either. In other words, here's what they need to do. They need to win 63% of the rest of their games to win the division.
I mean, we can sit here and tell you it's not impossible, but like I'm just being realistic with what I'm watching. Could they if anything, you'd probably hope that they somehow get lucky and make a wild card maybe, but there's so many teams between them too, because people want to point to that. I think they were down 5 games going into yesterday.
That's what Tarek Skubal kept saying too.
Yeah,
said, look, they're down 6 now.
Yep.
Okay. So they and the Angels, I might add, are 6 games down. All right. So, and you're right. They would have to leapfrog every team in the American League. The 2024 team's the outlier. Don't
exactly
use that as an example. They've done it.
There's
before,
a reason
okay?
everybody talked about that as a historic memory, right?
Correct. And we're trying to stay positive here. Give me one indication that this team has been able to do anything close to this, win 63% of their games.
There isn't one. Even when they were, healthy, the people that want to blame it on the injuries, they were 500. I mean, that's what they
beat San Diego. They beat San Diego to start the year 2 out of 3. That's the first series of the year. I wasn't going to freak out a year ago by getting swept by the Dodgers to start the season. I'm not going to freak out the other way after they beat San Diego 2 out of 3. Let me get to some texts and some comments in the chat. From David. Good morning, David. Shep, maybe you can explain how a Tigers team can go from the best team in baseball last year to the cellar this year. Is it pitching coaches, the batting coaches, or just fundamentals, proving batting positions, or players batting positions? I'm at a loss how a team could be so good at the beginning of last year and struggle to get wins this year. David, I don't think you're alone there. He's absolutely right. They were the best team in baseball at one point, and now are they the worst team in baseball? Colorado's got 20 wins. I don't know how do we look at it as what you consider to be the best and the worst? Let's put it this way. I'm going to name players, and you can tell me if you were starting a team, you would want them. Okay? Riley Green. Yes. Matt Vierling. No. Wenzel Perez. No. Spencer Torkelson. No. Gleyber Torres. No. Javier Baez. No. Kevin McGonigal. Yes. Dylan Dingler. Yes. Zach McKinstry. No. Casey Mize. Sure. Tarek Skubal. Yes. Troy Melton. Yes. Who else can we throw in there? Jack Flaherty. No. The point is, you've got 4 or 5 guys that you desperately would like. I think the bigger frustration too, David, is first of all, they have not put a premium on position player defense. So I think this is how you lose it. And they haven't addressed the needs that they have so desperately. And that is more power from the right side. They're not very good at power. They're not a good power hitting team. And that's what's required in today's baseball. So those are 2 examples right there. All right. They've relied on this similar bullpen that they had a year ago, and those bullpen arms are tired. All right. Injuries play a factor, no question. Bad defense, no true position players outside of a couple, and no power. There's your answer for the most part. Quick timeout. Back with more. We'll get to some of your texts and more in the chat after this on X's and Bros, brought to you by Meyer.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Ferris Coffee has been family-owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Ferris Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
Where are you watching the Tigers this year? Superfly Hayes here for Detroit Sportsnet. Sign up like the Ute Show did with the Detroit Sportsnet Tigers Wings package. Subscription info at tigers.com and MLB.com.
Huge here for all the ABC warehouse locations in Michigan. Now, if you're looking for the best prices on TVs, furniture, appliances, mattresses, and more, you need to go to abcwarehouse.com. You can shop there and also shop in person at all ABC warehouse locations across Michigan. For the one close to you, go to abcwarehouse.com. Best deals on TVs, appliances, furniture, and mattresses at all ABC warehouse locations in Michigan.
Welcome back. X's and Bros, Monday through Friday, 6 until 9, throughout the great state of Michigan on the Michigan Sports Network. Thanks to all our great affiliates for being part of this family, and thank you for joining us streaming live on YouTube, X, and on Facebook as well. Let me get back to some of those streams. So does the blame fall on AJ for how he sets his lineups and uses his guys, or does it fall on the owner for not spending money to get really good players? We definitely don't have talent hitting. Two things can be true at the same time, David. So a different David this time, joining us via the stream. AJ setting his lineup. Here, I'm not making excuses for AJ Hinch. I thought he left in Will Vest too long. I don't like Wenzel Perez in right field. Can we just agree that you have to field the team, right? Okay. It just based on this team that is here, you're the manager. What's your lineup? Dylan Dingler's behind the plate, right? Okay. Do you want Kevin McGonigal in the lineup every day? I do. I'd play him at shortstop every day. I would. Do you want – you have to have somebody play first base. You want Cole Keith instead of Spencer Torkelson? Okay, that's fine. Who plays second base? Who plays third for you? Gage Workman, you want to see him? He's a lefty. Cole Keith, you want to see him? At first base? Okay, fine. Zach McKinstry, he's a lefty. You see where we're going here. We got a lot of lefties so far. McGonigal's a lefty. Keith's a lefty. McKinstry's a lefty. Workman's a lefty. Your entire infield would be lefties if that's who you wanted. Outside of Dingler, who's a righty. Then you got Green in left. Who do you want in center field? Give me a center fielder. Matt Vierling? Okay. Then who's in right? It's either Jahmai Jones or Wenzel Perez.
It's hard to give you names when
it's hard to give you names.
Who do you want, actually?
So David brings up the point of setting his lineup. Who's he supposed to play? I know what you're going to say. Send this guy down. I don't disagree with you. That's not the point, though. The point is this is the team he has. So who are you supposed to play? And if you're going to alternate righty and lefty, you're going to put Jahmai Jones in there. Here's my bigger issue. And this has been my issue with Al Avila. It's been my issue with Scott Harris. It's their 40-man roster. Who are you protecting? I want you to think about this for a minute. How many other teams? Here are your catchers on your 40-man. So you have to have a 40-man roster. If you bring a guy up who's not on your 40-man, one of those guys has to be let loose. So if you wanted to bring up Max Clark, he's not on the 40-man roster. Max Clark gets elevated to Detroit. Somebody from the 40-man has to be waived. And they clear waivers, and then you can put him down in Toledo or Erie or whatever. Okay, let him loose. Don't keep him at all. Here's my problem. Here are their 40-man roster catchers. Dylan Dingler, you're going to protect for sure. Jake Rogers, I don't think he's a really good player, but you need a backup. And then you've got Theron Lorenzo and Eduardo Valencia. All right, both guys are in the minors. You got to protect some minor leaguers. It's just the way it goes. Every team does it. Your infielders on the 40-man. Javier Baez. Okay, Jace Young. Cole Keith. Hao-Yu Lee. Kevin McGonigal. Zach McKinstry. Trey Sweeney. Spencer Torkelson. Gleyber Torres. Gage Workman. And Zach Short. Why is Zach Short being protected? Trey Sweeney's on the IL, so it doesn't matter. He's on the 60-day IL. And Gleyber Torres is too. You're protecting Zach Short. You've waived him before. Other teams have waived him. Why is he on the 40-man? To me, it makes absolutely no sense.
That's when
Here's your
I don't
outfield.
got anything for you on. I don't know why.
Right.
I don't know.
So your outfielders are Kerry Carpenter, Trey Cruz, who was a shortstop at TCU, I might add, and is now considered an outfielder. Great. Anyway, he's a minor leaguer, so he's on the 40-man. That's fine. Riley Green, Parker Meadows, he's on the 60-day IL, so it doesn't really matter. Wenzel Perez and Matt Vierling. Just let me know the guys you want to cut to bring somebody up. That's what has to happen. This is baseball rules. You need to somebody off your 40-man to get somebody who's not on your 40-man. And then Jahmai Jones. Why he's being protected, I have no idea. How much more do you need to? Why are two guys like Jahmai Jones and Zach Short on this team right now? Jahmai Jones is a righty who doesn't hit very well, doesn't hit righties at all, but he hasn't hit worth a damn this year. Are you afraid you're going to lose that, a guy like that? Is somebody going to go in there? I can't wait for him to get released. Zach Short is a defensive guy. That's it. Oh, we like Shorty. He's really good at golf. Sorry. Goodbye. He's a nice enough guy. Don't get me wrong. It's a great story too. But if you want to win, why are those two guys on your 40-man roster? Stop with the right-handed power. He doesn't have the right-handed power. Don't give me that bull crap. He runs into one every once in a while. Bull crap. Zach Short does not have power. He's defensively, and that's it. Why? Nobody can answer that. The makeup of a roster. They would be fine on a Dodger roster. They'd be fine on a Yankees roster. I need a right-handed pinch hitter. I need a defensive replacement in the 8th inning. Great. This team's not in that situation. They're not good enough to be in that situation. Why are those two players? Nobody's asking these questions. Why are they on this team? And then if you want to go into the pitching, we can do that. That's fine. Why certain guys are still on, why Bailey Horn's on the 60-day IL, but why are they on the 40-man? Why are they being protected? Who would take their place? That's a better question. People want reactions to the negativity that they're seeing right now. The reactions need to take place, but certain actions have to take place first, like getting rid of those two guys off your 40-man.
And I think people just want to see that happen, to be honest, with two of the guys you just mentioned, and Jahmai Jones and Zach Short. I don't get it.
How much do you need, in all honesty, how much do you need to see?
Seriously.
Before you realize, you know what, can we move on? And meanwhile, while you're stand pat and you're being all, I'm going to be stubborn about this, you're losing games. And you're losing more games in the division, as in falling further and further behind. You're 10 games back. Cleveland lost last night, so maybe not as big a deal. But you're losing tread in the wild card as well. Now 6 instead of 5 back. I mean, it all. If you don't think it matters, you're full of crap. Last year was 1 game, right? Don't tell me it wouldn't have mattered. These things do matter. Eventually, they build up. You don't want to think it matters in April. You don't want to think it matters in March. At some point, aren't you going to start to look around and go, maybe these games do matter? You're damn right they are. Shep, it seems like they're trying to bring guys up from the minors and hope for a miracle and find a gem. Who's the guy they've brought up from the minors that they think is going to find a gem?
Yeah, that seems the opposite. I'm waiting for something from the minors.
You're waiting for something. Maybe it's Gage Workman. That dude killed it in AAA. He had really good numbers for the Mud Hens. He deserved the call-up. People want to see more of that. But I caution you, when you look at it and you see those guys come up, you're like, maybe they're not as good as I thought they were. Well, how about this? Maybe you're not hitting 320 in the majors like you did at AAA because they're just better up here. Gage Workman is batting $176. Who are they calling up? Hao Yu Lee? He started out really well. He's batting 206. Both those guys deserve the call up. They just have not played very well at the major league level. Because guess what? Newsflash, it's really hard. We'll get to some text when we come back here on X's and Bros, flying through on a Wednesday morning, 27 after the hour, brought to you by Meyer.
Dad, here's 3 reasons why we should go to the Meyer LPGA Classic for Simply Give.
Okay.
1, you can spend Father's Day weekend with some real golfers.
Ouch.
2, it's a good time for a good cause. Foodie fun, family fun, and fun helping feed neighbors in need.
And 3?
3. Do you really need another reason?
Join the fun June 18th through 21st at the Meyer LPGA Classic for Simply Give. Learn more and get tickets at MeyerLPGAClassic.com.
Huge here for my good friend Josh Garvey and the team at Dorn Mayhew, West Michigan, one of the world's top accounting, CPA, and business firms. Their worldwide headquarters are in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state. And Josh and his team connect with all the sports fans and businesses across Michigan. They bring you John Beeline on the Huge Show. They bring you Lomas Brown during the Lion season. They are a top shelf team when it comes to growth and understanding what their clients need. And mix in when we do the Beat Huge contests or the NCAA March Madness brackets. Thank you, Josh Garvey, for what you do for the Huge Show and the Michigan Sports Network. Simple and easy. Just find Dorn Mayhew on all the social networks or just Google Dorn Mayhew and find out how they can help your business. And again, a special thanks to Josh Garvey and the Dorn Mayhew team in West Michigan.
Rod Stewart returns to Soaring Eagle Thursday, September 3rd. The Soaring Eagle Summer Outdoor Concert Series with special guest Richard Marks. Tickets start at $71 and are on sale now at the box office and etix.com. One last time, Rod Stewart with Richard Marks, September 3rd. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
35 after the hour. An hour from now, we'll talk with Max Boltman of The Athletic, and we'll talk about the Red Wings, where they go from here. Thoughts on the Stanley Cup final appearance by the Las Vegas Knights, who won last night 2-1 and swept Colorado, and how he sees the rest of the East as Carolina and Montreal continue to play. They'll play game 4 tonight. Carolina leads 2-1. Let me get to some texts here on X's and Bros, and thanks for being with us, and thanks for participating very much. The mental error, this is from our friend Freddie, the mental error by AJ not benching Vierling like he did Javi 2 years ago, the mental error by AJ pitching Vest 2 innings and pitching him in the 8th. AJ knows those are both no-nos. The Vierling thing's interesting. And here's the reason. And I'm not saying you're wrong, because it was more than 2 years ago with Javier Baez, by the way. But either way, it's an interesting situation, because if you bench him, who plays center field? What you could do is you could have moved Zach McKinstry to center field, I suppose. It's not ideal. I know that. Okay. But let's say you bench him. So out goes Vierling, who at the time was batting 8th and playing center field. McKinstry was at shortstop. You could have moved McKinstry. How many center fielders do you have on the team? You're going to move Riley Green to center and put Jahmai Jones in left?
People are going to go right back to what we were just talking about. Call up Max Clark. That's what you're going to hear. 100%.
Right. Jahmai Jones was used as a pinch hitter, I believe, right? Okay. So you needed that right-handed bat off the bench. Again, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just thinking this through. Hao-Yu Lee is a right-handed stick. He came in as a pinch hitter a little bit later on. So let's just play that game. Let's move McKinstry to center. And let's put Lee in at shortstop. No, let's put McGonigal at shortstop and Lee at third base. Can we do that? Keep Gage Workman at second. That's how you would have had to handle it. I mean, it limits what you can do coming off the bench in a pinch hit situation, but who cares? And Jahmai Jones actually went 1 for 3 in a pinch hit situation. So let's just do that. That's basically what you're saying he should have done. Okay. I'm not going to say it's wrong. It's a little unique, but that's fine. As far as Will Vest is concerned, Will Vest came in the 7th. Right? Correct me if I'm wrong here.
I believe that was correct, yeah.
Okay. He gets 2 outs. He strikes out Soler, and he does so on 5 pitches. And then he gets Meckler to fly out to left. He threw 6 pitches. It's an up-down situation, which every pitcher experiences, or most every pitcher experiences. If he throws 6 pitches, and then in the 8th you bring in, I forget how many pitches Finnegan. Well, Detroit had the day off, right? So everybody should be fresh. He throws 6 pitches to get 2 outs. You bring in Kyle Finnegan. And it's a struggle. What are you and I saying? Will Vest is only going to give you 6 pitches? How is that possible?
Yep.
How can you not put him back out there? My bigger problem is warming up. I know when I called games, I always made sure I looked at the bullpen. Is there stirring in the bullpen when a guy is struggling? And Will Vest struggled in the 8th. Diddy gives up a ground out, then a single, ground out to second. There's 2 outs, man. He's got 2 outs. And there's a man on. Then the Ohapi double. Then the infield single. It's an infield single now. When are we making, because it ricocheted off Vest. When are we making the change? Tell me when the change should take place. When should you have pulled Will Vest? You don't want him out there after in the 8th inning because he threw 6 pitches and got 2 outs in the 8th inning? and 3 batters? You think he should have been pulled? If he pulls him there, you know what you're saying, right? Smartest guy in the room, always has to make the change. Let him go. Just tell me when you would have changed it, because you believe the Logan O'Hoppe double was not on Will Vest, right? Okay. Neto hits one. Really, if it doesn't hit Vest, How Lee makes that play. Trout walks, then the Grissom homer. I'd like to know when you should have pulled him. Andy, any ideas?
No, I mean, for me, I'm not with that. I do agree. I don't mind that AJ left him in. Is what I guess I'm trying to like.
I have no problem with AJ bringing him back out for the 8th. And he threw 6 pitches for crying out loud. I have no problem with that. All right. He gets the first out. Then you get up to single. Then you get a ground out. So you got 2 outs and a man on base. It's the play in right field that changes things.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And then it feels like everything kind of falls on top of you after that with the ricochet off him.
Exactly.
Stuff, yeah.
If you want to say the 9 pitch at bat from Zach Neto is the one that caused problems, I would buy that. Bring in somebody new for Mike Trout. You're not bringing in Tyler Holton. It's not a lefty against a righty. You don't want that, right? So who are you putting in? That's the thing that you got to answer yourself.
He has gotten a lot of big outs too. Like Will Vest has gotten a lot of big outs. Like, I not this year, but just in the past. Like sure. AJ's got how many guys to lean on right now to get big outs in that bullpen? Who's been that reliable?
Well, let's put it this way. Let's say you're gonna bring in somebody new for Mike Trout. Okay, you're not bringing in a lefty. Is that fair?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Definitely fair.
So what you're going to do is you're going to bring in a right-handed pitcher from your bullpen. Who is that? Is it Drew Anderson? Is it Kyle Finnegan? Is it Birch Smith? No, I think he's hurt. Who are you bringing in? So that's what you have to ask yourself and then answer yourself. If they bring in Kenley Jansen, you will go absolutely crazy. You're paying a lot of money to Finnegan. Why can Kenley Jansen not get a 4-out save? If you would have said, pull Vest because of the 9-pitch at bat with Zach Neto, give me a righty against Trout, I'm with you on that. That's where I could see it happening. He gets behind 2-0 and boom, there's the home run. There's the grand slam.
There's so many times though too where like people, I'm not saying that he was pitching like his best in that moment or anything, but there's so many times where people are like, well, why didn't you stick with the guy there too when the guy that comes in ends up giving it up? You know what I mean? So it's just such a fine line to draw there, I feel like.
Yeah, it's really easy to say what should have happened.
Right, in hindsight.
In hindsight. So that's the question that everybody has all the time. And I get it. I'm not saying that you don't have a right to question it. The question oftentimes I ask myself is, okay, just give me the idea of what you would have done. That's all I'm asking. I don't think that's too much to ask at all. And Will Vest, usually in leverage situations has been pretty good. Somebody texted said he always stinks in the 8th. They're right. He does. He's got a 13.5 ERA in the 8th inning. 7th inning, he's very good. 9th inning, he's even better. But the 8th inning, for some reason or another, it's awful. Shep, he took out Keith 2 for 2 and 2 runs scored. For Jones, and Jones is a pitch hitter, a DH, liability in the field. Agreed. Liability in the field. He sticks to his guns with that stuff. I don't like it. I'm with you on that. Colt Keith, he's 2 for 2. Why are you taking him out? Again, why in the hell is Jahmai Jones on this roster? But for some reason or another, there are certain metrics that they believe guys should not be. I mean, I don't. Colt Keith's batting 111 against lefties. Is that because he's not very good or because he doesn't get many chances at doing it?
Yeah.
He only has 9 at-bats against left-handed pitching this year.
It's tough to get good when you only get that many chances.
Yeah. So does he deserve more chances when he's batting 111? How many chances do you think he deserves? That's from Michael in the chat. It's a good comment. A guy's seeing it well. Why are you taking him out? Here's why. He's batting 111 against him. Michael's response would be, how many chances are you giving him? Why are you only giving him 9 chances?
I guess the other response.
He's got 1 hit against the lefty all year long, Andy. 1. So does that tell you I got to take him out? Or does that, I mean,
I get it,
this is a deeper issue. What are you paying a guy that much money? It's not a ton of money, but what are you paying a guy that extended contract for if you're not going to play him every day?
No, I get it. I get it to that extent. I understand where AJ would think that if he's hitting 111. But what is Jahmai Jones doing so far for you this year to bring him into the game? To be the guy that you're going to pitch it for the guy that went 2 for 2. That's where I have a little bit more of an issue with it. I'm okay with the numbers sometimes, but Jahmai Jones hasn't been getting it done this year either, unless I'm missing something there.
So you would be willing, what you'd be willing to do is live with those results from Colt Keith more so than Jahmai Jones.
Yeah, I mean, based off the sample size you got this year from Jahmai Jones, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Shep, this town is so scared to lose a manager or coach. Why is AJ still the manager? Why can't someone do better? Why is giving AJ every excuse that he has no players? Maybe Scott Harris wants AJ sitting right there taking the bullets every day, 162 games. Here's the thing. And actually, Freddie said this on Twitter, and I thought he said it pretty well. AJ Hinch and Scott Harris talk every day. At least that's what they tell us. If they talk every day, sometimes multiple times a day, how are they both not coming to the conclusion that this team needs to change a few things? How are 2 guys, 2 baseball guys, baseball lifers, AJ is definitely a baseball lifer, 2 baseball knowledgeable guys sitting there together, collectively putting their heads together and saying, here's the idea. We're going to keep Jahmai Jones. We're going to keep Zach Short. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. How is that possible? I'm not telling them that I know more. I'm not trying to convince anybody that you and I collectively are the smartest guys in the room. But you don't have to be super smart, super analytical, and you don't have to be a baseball lifer to know certain things about this team.
No, but if they both talk every day and they believe in the offseason that this team coming in was going to be able to keep developing and get better, and the end of last year wasn't like they probably believe in this team. I mean, they believe in some of these guys and think that they can work their way out of it, from a managerial standpoint, that these players can work their way out of it probably. But I mean, at this point, it's gotten this bad. We're talking about 55 games. You got to think at some point here, you'd have to look in the mirror and be like, all right, something's not right here. You know what I mean? Yep.
100%. The whole thing, I want to get back to what Michael brought up in the chat. And, what somebody said via text, and that's the Veerling situation. How is he still in the game? You've got to have a plan. This goes to a much deeper issue of roster construction. And this is where it hurts to not have a guy like Parker Meadows. If you want to say it hurts to not bring up a guy like Max Clark. If I bring up Max Clark, I want Max Clark playing every day. All right. He's one of the future faces of my franchise. I want him playing every day. Would you miss much if you played him every day? Hell no. What you might miss offensively, he will help you defensively. He will chase down a lot of baseballs in the alleys and so on and so forth, much like Parker Meadows. He wouldn't be the answer to your lack of power. 25-26. Okay. This Tigers team last year and this year combined, 17th in the league in defensive runs saved, 11. So plus 11. And they rank 22nd in outs above average, minus 23. They're a minus 23 in outs above average over the last 2 years. Those are numbers that are worth looking at. They rank 7th in strikeouts over the last 2 years. You can overcome that. The Yankees rank higher than that. The problem is the Yankees rank a lot higher in slugging and home runs and runs, where Detroit is middle of the pack. Middle of the pack in OPS, middle of the pack in slug, middle of the pack of homers and runs scored. Middle of the pack of OBP. That's what you are. That's what this team is. If you're middle of the pack in all those really important offensive categories, and you're the ones who told me that that was the important category, we're not going to look at average. We're going to look at OBP. We're going to look at slug. We're going to look at OPS. That's the most important thing. Oh, okay. Cool. If the last 2 years you are ranked where you are, why are you not doing something about that? That's my question. My question is, if you think you are so close to winning the division, reaching the playoffs again, how in the world are you allowing your roster construction that has put together those numbers to stay intact? I don't get it. I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you Matt Vierling's play in center field last night would force my hand to pull him. I think it was in the third inning, right, Andy? And yank him and say, I'm making a statement in front of everybody here and everybody on TV. You're getting benched because I will not put up with
Yeah, it was
stuff.
that early in the game.
Yeah, it was in the third, right? Because then you have put, because of the roster construction, and you're part of the roster construction, okay? You've helped make these decisions. Because of that, then what am I going to do? What am I going to do in center field? It's not as easy as just saying, yank that guy's ass out of there and I'll worry about it later. I'm making a statement to everybody on this team and I'm going to get their attention. It's a fair point. The only problem is you don't have another talented player to man center field. Your defense is already bad, man. It goes back to the roster construction. That's all I'm saying. Okay. It's a really tough place to be. That's what this team is. Okay. Let me ask you a question. This is regarding the Lions, and we'll get to this at the top of the hour. We're going to shift gears here. If you're going to win a Super Bowl in the National Football League, you have to have high-level quarterback play, high-level pass rush, some defensive playmakers, rock-solid offensive line. You need to have really good balance. I'm going to ask you to rate where the Lions are in those certain areas when we come back, all right? Where are they as far as tiers are concerned in those specific areas? It's a reason why some may believe they can win a Super Bowl and why others believe they're not even close. It depends on where you see this team. We'll get to that when we come back here on X's and Bros. It's been a busy Wednesday morning here on the Michigan Sports Network, and we're brought to you by Meijer.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive, boys and girls, high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
Celebrate the soul of folk and Americana The Lumineers Automatic World Tour comes to Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort Sunday night, July 19th, with special guest Josiah and the Bonnevilles, part of the Soaring Eagle Outdoor Summer Concert Series. Tickets start at $67 and are on sale now at the box office or online at etix.com. Showtime 8 p.m. See the Lumineers live with Josiah and the Bonnevilles, July 19th at Soaring Eagle Casino. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Huge here for the incredible Crystal Mountain Resort in Thompsonville, Michigan. If you've never experienced the mountain, it's unbelievable. They offer up 36 holes of championship golf, Betsy Valley, Mountain Ridge, accommodations, a ton of choices. Go to crystalmountain.com, see everything for yourself. One of the top spas in America. They can handle businesses, small groups, big groups, your buddies, the ladies, and more. Book your getaway now at crystalmountain.com. That's crystalmountain.com.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI, thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
DraftKings Sports is live in all 50 states. Yes, that means you, the state of Michigan. 2 teams left, 1 trophy, every possession, every fourth quarter swing, every clutch shot. The DraftKings Sports app is now live in Michigan. So whether you're catching tip-off at home or a Game 7 at the bar, you're in every minute, every game, every moment, all in one app right here in Michigan. The finals are in the palm of your hand. New DraftKings customers, sign up with code HUGE. Spend $5 to get $200 in rewards guaranteed. That code is HUGE, H-U-G-E, in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER, 21 years or older, Michigan only. Eligibility restrictions do apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.com/audio. This is for a limited time offer. OTAs begin for the Lions today. How cool is that? It's awesome, right? Love that, just like you do. It means you can move on to talk about something a little differently, which is great. Are you of the belief that, similar to what Daniel Jeremiah of NFL Network has recently posted, he said, I'd like to revisit the concept for every NFL team. To build a championship foundation, you need to fill these 12 spots. Here are the 12. Quarterback, you need 1. You need 3 offensive playmakers. You need 3 quality offensive linemen. You need 2 pass rushers and 3 defensive playmakers. Okay? All right. So let's do the Lions. You ready? Obviously, the quarterback is Jared Goff. You feel good with Jared Goff as your trigger? I do. I'm fine with Jared Goff.
Yeah, same.
Is he a complete quarterback? No.
No, definitely not. But he's a good NFL quarterback. Yeah.
I think he's a really good NFL quarterback.
It's hard to find a good NFL quarterback.
Who's the complete package? Who's the quarterback who's the complete package?
It's hard to say anybody's perfect. But I mean, yeah, I think you'd have to go like Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, maybe be the closest you could find to it, I guess.
Right. Patrick Mahomes is probably the answer. Josh Allen has not been able to get to the Super Bowl. So I don't think that's the right
fair.
answer.
Yeah.
Right. But on the other hand, just because you do get there, Sam Darnold, Jalen Hurts, doesn't mean you're the complete package either.
Right.
So it's a good point by you. All right. But you and I both feel good with Jared Goff. 3 playmakers. Who are they?
The Lions team.
Mm-hmm.
Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yep. The first one, I'd say
Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, I'd say Jahmyr Gibbs. You could say Jameson Williams. I feel like would be somebody that look to.
I would say Laporta as well.
Yeah.
I would say you have 4, not 3, but you have 4. You're trying to get to 12. Offensive line.
I mean,
give me the 3.
Penei Sewell for sure.
Right.
I think you're looking at Cade Mays to hopefully be one of those guys, and then maybe Tate Ratledge would be the next one.
Yep.
Step forward. Yeah.
Fair enough. I'm with you on those. Let's hope they're right. It's a little leaky because you're not sure. I mean, you watch Cade Mays a little bit at Tennessee. I don't know if you noticed him. Film looked really good. I thought it was a really good deal contractually. Tate Ratledge, you want to make another step, but he was better than people truly believed a year ago. It's not the strength of their team yet, but I feel okay with it. Meanwhile, pass rush. Hutchinson?
Yep.
And who?
Definitely Sam. I mean, you gotta look at Derek Moore.
Yeah, but we don't know that yet.
That's true.
Right?
You're saying guys that we already know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
so I think you're missing
Hutchinson. Yeah.
Right.
You're definitely
you're missing
somebody else you know.
Unless you want to go with Aleem McNeil. But I'm not.
Yeah, but no, I'm not going there. No.
So and then your defensive playmakers.
You got Jack Campbell. Yep. That'd be your
Brian Branch.
Again, but the injuries don't matter for the start of the season. We're still just saying these are their guys, like that are playmakers, or because Brian Branch isn't going to start the year, is he?
He's not. At least he's not expected to.
Okay.
You're missing something there.
Yeah, you are.
You're missing your playmaker. So you're missing.
I mean, Kirby Joseph is a playmaker too. And I don't know what's going on with him.
Okay.
So,
but we're not sure he's starting the season either. You would love one of those playmakers to be a corner, wouldn't you?
You would definitely.
In a perfect world, that's what you're looking at
for sure. But all the interceptions that Kirby Joseph had, I feel like that makes him a playmaker when he's available too. But yeah, neither one of those guys are available. So, at least as far as we know right now.
So the problem with this is, and we're basically, is it fair to say we're maybe 3 players light, 2 to 3 players light? If you look at a team, let's just take Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts, I would take we might have a slight edge there. Offensive playmaker, they got Barkley, they've got Devontae Smith, they've got Dallas Goedert, maybe. I'm not sure about Mekhi Lemon. I don't think you can necessarily count that just yet, but they've got 3. Offensive line, Dickerson and Mailata and Johnson, pretty damn good, even though Johnson's a little bit longer in the tooth. They've got a couple of different pass rushers and defensive playmakers. You can't use pass rushers as playmakers. 3 other ones, they've got Zach Bond, they've got Cooper DeJean, they've got Quinyon Mitchell. That's a little bit further along, don't you think?
Yeah, I would say.
I mean, if you're comparing the 2 teams, I'm just using Philly as an example. All right. If you want to go into using Washington, go ahead. I don't think that would be nearly what Detroit has. Of course, I didn't think that a couple of years ago.
Maybe like Seattle or the Rams would be other teams you would look at, I guess, to try to compare to in their conference.
Yeah, I was looking more NFC things, like obviously I was looking Green Bay, Love, and then they've got Watson and Kraft and Jacobs when he's out of prison, if he gets out of prison. But they're lacking a lot. They don't have nearly what Detroit does, if you believe in this, okay? If you want to go over to the other side, you can go to Baltimore. Baltimore's got playmakers like Derrick Henry, Zay Flowers, and Mark Andrews. Vega Ionye, can you count him as a difference maker on the offensive line? You better, considering what you invested in. But if you're going to give that to Baltimore, can we give that to Blake Miller? Obviously, Baltimore still has Ronnie Stanley and John Simpson. Trey Hendrickson, pass rusher, and they've got another one too, Madubuike. And then they've got some pretty good difference makers on that defense. Nate Wiggins, Kyle Hamilton, of course, Roquan Smith, of course. So I would argue that they're a little bit further along, or we know more about them, I should say, than we do with the Lions. There's some guys in the Lions that still have to prove certain things for us to get, that check mark. Look at the Bears. Obviously, Williams, offensive playmakers. Colston Loveland's an offensive playmaker, no doubt. Luther Burden, Roma Dunze. Those are pretty good playmakers. Joe Tooney, Wright and Jackson up front. Those are 3 pretty good offensive linemen. They don't have a pass rusher, per se. They've got a couple of defensive playmakers. I look at Green Bay, I look at Chicago, and then I look at Detroit, and I feel more comfortable with Detroit than any of the other teams in the division. If we're talking about winning the division, which is a way to get to the postseason, I like Detroit's situation right now, especially if Derek Moore can develop into that pass rusher. If he doesn't, then you're in trouble. You need your safeties back. Otherwise, you're in trouble. How much trouble are the Red Wings in? We'll ask Max Boltman that at the bottom of the hour here on X's and Bros. This is a serious situation when you're looking at what Vegas is able to do, how talented Colorado was, but more specifically in the Atlantic Division and the Eastern Conference. We'll talk with him at 8:35 here on X's and Bros. We're brought to you this hour by our friends at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
In the Den.
It's a new day to celebrate and be free. It's a new day full of action and excitement because it's a new day for winning. Only at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort, your getaway reimagined. This is Matt Shepard. There was good news, bad news, and worse news Tuesday night at Comerica Park. The good news was the live BP session thrown by Tarek Skubal. AJ Hinch called it really encouraging and said the Tigers ace will throw again Sunday to build up his pitch count. The bad news was that Javier Baez's right ankle injury is not progressing like the team had hoped, and he will now schedule an appointment with an ankle specialist. The worst news was the Tigers blew a 6-4 lead in the 8th when Wenzel Perez misplayed a ball in right field, and Will Vest then promptly offered up a 2-out grand slam homer to Vaughn Grissom. The loss means the Tigers have lost 12 of 14, 17 of 20, and after starting 10-2 at home this year, they have now dropped to 13-13 at Comerica Park.
Huge here for the Carmody Brothers and all the Buffalo Wild Wings locations in Michigan. They have some huge deals happening every week. Buy one boneless wing, get one free every Thursday. They also have their bottomless appetizers. Groups can get bottomless apps starting at $9.99, and they also have the Pick 6 meal for two. Get 2 entrees, 2 sides, and 2 drinks starting at $19.99. That's happening at all Buffalo Wild Wings locations in Michigan. Huge deals every week.
Rod Stewart returns to Soaring Eagle Thursday, September 3rd. The Soaring Eagle Summer Outdoor Concert Series with special guest Richard Marks. Tickets start at $71 and are on sale now at the box office and etix.com. One last time, Rod Stewart with Richard Marks, September 3rd, SoaringEagleCasino.com.
You've heard the phrase "read the room," right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Could you do me a favor and drive down to Comerica Park and talk to Wenzel Perez about reading the room a little bit? Would you mind doing that? Just because on his Instagram,
yeah, for sure.
After the game last night, on his Instagram, he's posting how he, hit a home run.
I'm sure they'd love to give me access to ask Wenzel about it.
Well, I'm oftentimes amazed at how people can really do certain things. I really am.
Yeah, that one's crazy.
Why would you just lost a game? You made an egregious mistake in right field. Notice I didn't call it an error because they didn't give him an error. An egregious mistake in right field. And you're posting stuff. Does that not make you look like one of the more selfish people on that team?
Yeah, I mean,
look at me, everybody. I just hit a home run. Oh, well, listen. I don't know about you, Andy, but I mean that makes up for everything. I don't know. A solo home run, making it 6-4, makes up for everything. Oh, and by the way, the thing that you left out there, as a guy batting ninth, you're batting 167. You have an on-base percentage of 2.25, and your slug is slightly above 260. What are you doing? Shut up, stay off social media, leave it alone, and go about your business on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like
get better.
Yeah, it's odd. I think he did, like, some of the people that he reposted look like, I mean, people like follow him specifically and probably are his friends, like, hyping him up for hitting the home run. I'm not trying to defend him here in any light because you probably should be focused more on the game and everything else. The first one, he's literally just reposting the Tigers post. It's like, I mean, what are we doing right now with that? But yeah,
I don't care where you are, who you're trying to appease, what your inner feelings are. That is a stupid, ignorant, and ill-advised move on his part.
Yep, I agree. There really is no defending.
I know you're not trying to.
I was trying to get, like, if there was any light or any reason that he would have, I would have. But when you're playing as bad as he's playing, especially if you make the mistake out there in the outfield like that, like, how are you even thinking about looking at anything like that? I'd be so mad at myself in that situation. I don't know.
I wouldn't be able to. You have people like Victor Wembanyama did not talk to the media last night. I don't know if people know that.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So there's a big deal about, how, and I think he's a great player. So I'm not trying to, please don't take this out of context, but it's one big, foaming at the mouth over Victor Wembanyama, who went 4 for 15, by the way, 0 for 5 from deep. So he scored 20 points, but 12 came at the free throw line. There's a big look at how great he is and look at what he represents. And then he doesn't talk to the media. Sorry, man. That's not the way it works. At least if you're a leader, that's not how it's supposed to be. How do guys not understand things? Are people not trying to help them? Are people telling them the wrong thing? I don't know the answers to those questions. I know this. Wenzel Perez would be wise to heed any advice from somebody within that room, that front office, PR, whatever. Stay off social media. Just while this team is struggling, all of you, don't look at it. As soon as you get back to your stall, what are people saying about me? And please do not be posting things regarding the team, regarding your performance. I don't care if you go 3 for 4 with 4 runs driven in. If you lose, that is a selfish act, and fans will leap all over it. They will pounce. You can't, it's hard to win them back after that. You've got to be really careful. Shep, maybe players, this is via text, maybe players do that because the manager makes excuses for the players publicly. Well, I think you're referring to AJ Hinch last night talking about Will Vest. Is he making an excuse for Will Vest, or is he showing strong belief in Will Vest? How do you look at that? he believes that Will Vest is the right guy to get those outs. Numbers would tell you, which is always another funny thing for me, when you'll talk about analytics until the cows come home. And then when I bring up analytics on why this guy is not good in the 8th inning, historically will tell you that, you'll say, forget about that. You're going to be very selective on what you want to hear and what you're going to use for your sole purposes because you made the decision. But you do have to believe in players, right? You do want to believe in your guys. If you want to believe in your guys, do you always have to publicly? No, but look, he thinks he can get those types of outs. He's proven that he can in the past. 8th inning, not so much this year with a 13 ERA, but he's proven he can get those types of outs. I don't know if it's making an excuse or just showing belief in your guy. I don't suppose it matters to you. When you lose 10-6, when you've lost 7 straight at home, when you're a team that is now gasping for air, and that's what they're doing. You feel like they're being choked to death, for crying out loud. They're 21-34. They would have to go, obviously, on a 13-game winning streak just to get to 500. Sometimes those are the numbers and those are the ways to look at it that might astound you the most. You win 13 consecutive games or 2 weeks in a row without losing, and you reach 500. That's what it's going to take. As we mentioned earlier, you've got to win 63% of your games just to get to 88 wins and possibly win the division. In the words of Rainbow, one of my favorite rock bands, can happen here. I just don't see that happening. Let's get to the final results of the poll question from yesterday. We have them for you every day as we give it to you on our social media platforms. At XB Mornings is how you can follow us. What would you do with Jalen Duren? Let him become a restricted free agent. Pistons sign him to a max deal, or they should offer lower than that max deal.
You got,
what did the masses say, Andy?
Restricted free agent is 45% of the vote. So people are thinking, let him test the waters a little bit. The max, the 48 mil a year, that's only 5%. So nobody's thinking that, which doesn't surprise me. And the Pistons offer 35 to 40 mil. I feel like 50% of the vote went that, and that's what won the vote overall.
Oh,
obviously.
okay.
So yeah, it is pretty close between the restricted free agent and then the Pistons offering that much money. So yeah, I don't think people have completely bought out of them. I think people just don't want to see him get offered the max money at this point.
Agreed. Yep. And I wouldn't do that either. So smart audience out there. Our Mitch Lyons Wealth poll question today: which year did JB Bickerstaff deserve Coach of the Year? 2025, 2026, both or neither. Vote as often as you want at XB Mornings. How about the Daily Wager? How'd you do for the Daily Wager, brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort and their sportsbook Ascend?
After that slow start where I think I started like 1-4, I've actually been on like a 4 or 5 day win streak here. I think I got the Aaron Fox with 4 rebounds last night. Got exactly 4 again, which he's done 4 times in the last 6 games. So the other games he had 10 and 7. So he got that done for me. Today I'm going with the Phillies -1.5 on the money line. They're playing against the Padres on the road. So you might think, why would you pick that? I'm doing it because Christopher Sanchez is starting the game. He hasn't given up a run in his last 4 starts, and he's went 7 innings or more in all those starts. So I'm going to ride the hot hand there.
Good intel there. He's one of the better pitchers that I don't think gets nearly enough credit.
So I looked, and I knew he's been doing good, but when I looked at these numbers for him starting, I was like, that's incredible, especially with how much we've talked about pitchers don't go deep into games. I mean, he's going 7 or more the last 4 and done that.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, when he pitches, they got a chance. And he's really good, but he was really good a year ago. I like him a lot. I think he's outstanding. And he's got an ERA under 2. All right, when we come back, Max Bultman joins us from The Athletic. You can follow him on Twitter at @M_Bultman. We'll talk Red Wings and hockey in general right after this on X's and Bros, brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort.
In the Den.
It's a new day to celebrate and be free. It's a new day full of action and excitement because it's a new day for winning. Only at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort, your getaway reimagined. This is Matt Shepard. There was good news, bad news, and worse news Tuesday night at Comerica Park. The good news was the live BP session thrown by Tarek Skubal. AJ Hinch called it really encouraging and said the Tigers ace will throw again Sunday to build up his pitch count. The bad news was that Javier Baez's right ankle injury is not progressing like the team had hoped, and he will now schedule an appointment with an ankle specialist. The worst news was the Tigers blew a 6-4 lead in the eighth when Wenzel Perez misplayed a ball in right field, and Will Vest then promptly offered up a 2-out grand slam homer to Vaughn Grissom. The loss means the Tigers have lost 12 of 14, 17 of 20, and after starting 10-2 at home this year, they have now dropped to 13-13 at Comerica Park.
Rod Stewart returns to Soaring Eagle Thursday, September 3rd. The Soaring Eagle Summer Outdoor Concert Series with special guest Richard Marx. Tickets start at $71 and are on sale now at the box office and etix.com. One last time, Rod Stewart with Richard Marx, September 3rd, SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Coming up later today at 3 on The Huge Show on the Michigan Sports Network, I'll deliver huge opinions on everything you're talking about.
Where are you watching the Tigers this year? Superfly Hayes here for Detroit Sports Net. Sign up like the Ute Show did with the Detroit Sports Net Tigers Wings package. Subscription info at tigers.com and MLB.com.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to my good friend Shep. The Huge Show is coming up later today at 3, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
couple at Nygaard, obviously, I thought he was our best player overall in the playoffs. I mean, he stepped up big time, and he plays that game. I know he got a taste of the NHL, but for him, I think it's in his hands to become a full-time NHL regular player in the lineup every night for Detroit. There are a lot of messages about going home this summer and having a great summer and, being prepared for NHL training camp. I mean, he's one guy that if he does things the right way, which we know he will give him the best shot to make the team and be an impact on the team.
Dan Watson, the head coach of the Grand Rapids Griffins, after his team was eliminated by the Chicago Wolves, talking about Michael Nygaard, who he hopes and expects, as do I think a lot of Red Wings fans, can be a fixture with this team next year. Very interesting read in The Athletic, usually is, okay, when Max Bultman is at the computer. But a lot of different things about what has gone right, what has gone wrong, but also scenarios. This is what people are looking for. Max Bultman of The Athletic, you can follow him on Twitter at @M_Bultman, joins us here on X's and Bros. It's been a very busy time, even though the team he covers so well is not in the playoffs. So we appreciate the time on this Wednesday morning. Thanks a lot, Max. Appreciate it. The scenario that you brought up, I love reading through it. I think it's, first of all, well thought out, scenario 1, 2, and 3, and then you kind of break down what this team would bring back and what they would add, and some names people would recognize and others maybe not. I don't want to get into every single scenario. People should read The Athletic to do that. But first and foremost, can you tell me what you think their biggest needs are, how you would rank them 1 through 3, perhaps?
Yeah, so, at the end of the season press conference, Steve Yzerman talked about some of the ways he feels the team has to get better. He talked about 5-on-5 scoring. He talked about being harder to play against. To me, that really highlights a couple areas of the roster. One is the first line, which didn't, the whole team needs to score more 5-on-5. First line really needs to score more 5-on-5. It was a big dip this year for Dylan Larkin and Lucas Raymond specifically at 5-on-5. Larkin actually had a career high in goals, but a lot of that was on the power play. And, I think Emmett Finney had a great year for them. I think for a 20-year-old, for an undrafted rookie, he surpassed all expectations. But I don't think that's quite the same thing as being a top-line winger for a playoff team. So I look at that and I say that's the place to start, top-line wing. And if you do that, you can add someone who can still play at the pace of Larkin and Raymond, but can bring a little bit of edge, can bring some hard net front scoring. Doesn't even have to necessarily be at the net front, although I do think that's something that duo could benefit from. Then you bump Emmett Finney down. All of a sudden, you really like his speed. You really like his ability to get to the net and his ability to be responsible on the third line. And I think then the guy you just heard Dan Watson talking about, Michael Nygaard, he hit everything that moved in the AHL playoffs. He had a point per game in the AHL playoffs, and he's continued to be really effective going over to the World Championships for Norway. All of a sudden, then you got some young legs, you got some physicality in the bottom six, and then maybe I think that's basically the other ad I would make is a kind of true bruiser. There's a few of them this offseason. Steve Yzerman hasn't really wanted to do it. He hasn't wanted to go get somebody, in his words from a few years ago, who's 6'6" to beat people up, and I can respect that. The game has changed. It's not just about fights anymore. That's not necessarily what I'm recommending. But I do think that some true imposing size, someone who's going to play 200 hits a year, for example, is something that I think would help keep the flies off of their stars, who I think teams have taken a little bit of liberties with. So that's kind of a long answer, but I think it's top line left wing and then bottom six toughness.
Yeah, really well thought out. I did notice in 2 of your 3 scenarios, Patrick Kane is back. One, obviously, he's not. Why do you think he could or should be back, and why do you think it might be important for them to move on if they did?
I think he will be back, and I think he should be back. I think, we talked about the 5-on-5 scoring. Well, Patrick Kane was one of the guys who scored 5-on-5 for them at one of the highest rates. His line with DeBrincat and Andrew Kopp was really effective, and especially late in the year when the Red Wings as a whole really lacked offense, really struggled. Well, Patrick Kane was I don't remember if he was the exact leading scorer, but he was one of their 1 or 2 on their leading scorers in the month of March and on. That to me tells you a lot about, this is still a guy who has a feel for the moment, who can play when it's hard. No, he's not the hard to play against type, right? I mean, in the way that, I'm mainly using it as we talk here. He's not going to be in the corners laying a big hit. He's not going to be, digging a puck out from behind the net necessarily, but he does make him harder to play against because he maintains possessions. He scores 5-on-5. I think that's worth it, and especially at the price that he's likely to, that he's been playing for the Red Wings. I mean, you're not getting that production for any cheaper on the open market. So I put it in 2 out of the 3 there. I think that, 2 out of 3, I think that might even be a little low for the odds. I think he wants to be back. I think the Red Wings have always liked having him. But we'll see what that amounts to. At the end of the season, Kane talked about having mutual interest in coming back, and I do put stock in that.
Yeah, and that's fine. If he can produce, he's not very good defensively, and that's a problem. But it would make for an interesting scenario on the power play because he's, like you said, good 5-on-5 and good on the power play. He's a great passer, obviously. Max Boltman from The Athletic joining us here on X's and BrO's. I don't want to ask it like who do you want to get rid of or who you're tired of, but what names could you see the Red Wings moving on from?
Yeah,
last year?
I think especially as we talk about upgrading the bottom 6, I'm looking for guys who underperformed, who didn't bring enough scoring or didn't bring enough of that physicality. And there's a few that I kind of come back to. Michael Rasmussen struggled with injuries, and so I don't know how much of that caused this. But if you look at his stat line, scoring was down, but also the physicality was way down. I think it was like half of what we're used to seeing from him. And I think hits is a flawed stat. The way it's tracked is really inconsistent, but that's a huge drop. I mean, we're talking about a guy going from like 140, 150 hits a year for a few years running down to like 65. And that was pretty jarring to see, especially from a young player. He missed some time. I'm not saying there's no way he could bounce back, but that stood out as a red flag. JT Compher, another one. For a guy who I think brings a lot of the same things Andrew Kopp does, he really stepped up when the Red Wings had center issues, and I definitely have to tip your hat to that. But I think on the body of work of the season, not enough production, not enough physicality. He plays really hard, but he's not the fastest guy either. So, and then Mason Appleton, who I really thought early in the year was pretty impressive when they brought him in. Could shoot it, but fell off in the second half of the year. And so I look at those 3 guys. I'm not saying they're going to be rid of all 3 of them, but I would say some combination there. That's how you make your room in the bottom 6, whether it is moving on from them or whether they just get bumped down and maybe they're not in the opening night lineup kind of situation. I do think as a public, we think the only way to get better is to get rid of. But sometimes if you can keep that player around and you have depth and you have some injuries, sometimes it can be better that you did that. But obviously there's always a case for, just outright clearing the roster space too.
Yeah, I like that you reminded us all in your article on The Athletic that, Mason Appleton played a key role as one of those, lower 6 forwards for Winnipeg and on a checking line. And that was important. So perhaps he could do the same thing here if he's retained. We always think, you're right, we think that addition by subtraction, but we also think free agency cures everything, and it does not. Who are the free agents you look at that are really appealing, but also reasonable in their acquisition? Like you bring up Alex Tuck in your article, which is a good one, but that's a heavy price tag to pay for a dude like that. Who are the guys you think are good values that could help this team too?
Yeah, the big one I look at is Bobby McMahon. He split last year between Toronto and Seattle. He had 29 goals, but he's also a big body at 6'2", lays some hits, and he's one of the fastest skaters in the NHL. And so that, to me, checks a lot of boxes. Do I think he's a true top-line winger? No. But I don't think, I think Alex Tuck might be the only true top-line winger in free agency this year. And to your point, I think you're going to have to spend north of $10 million a year on a really, really long contract to sign him. I don't know if long-term that is the smartest thing for them to do. It would certainly make them better in the next 2, 3, 4 years. But by the end of that contract, that might hang over you. I think Bobby McMahon would be a much more economical way to upgrade. I'm not saying you're going to get him for 3 years, $5 million or anything like that, but maybe it's 4 or 5 years of $6, $6.5, $7 million. I think the Red Wings can afford that with some of the contracts that they have. A couple more wingers, Mason Marchment and Anders Lee. I don't know if you're going to be able to get true top line usage out of either of those two. Lee with age, Marchment, just the track record isn't quite in the same place. But I think plausible kind of middle six, and both of them bring size. Lee brings a lot of leadership and experience from his time with the Islanders. Marchment, a little bit of that edge. So those are two guys. And then really down lineup, Beck Ballenstein and Michael McCarron are kind of two of those bruiser types that I talked about earlier. It's really Victor Arvidsson would be another winger that you could get, some buzz and some zip out of. It's really a rough free agent class, though. It's one of the thinnest we've seen. It's probably going to lead to a lot of bad contracts. And so that's something the Red Wings will have to keep in mind, is that they want to get better, and free agency is usually the first place you look because it doesn't cost you any assets. But I do think it's very possible that a trade is going to end up being the better way to get better.
So that was my next question. Free agents are your trade, and one of your scenarios, without giving too much away from The Athletic, because you subscribe and follow Max Bultman, who writes for The Athletic. Elias Pettersson is one of those names that you bring up in a possible trade. I'm not a huge fan, with all due respect. I'm not a huge fan. I don't think he's as physical as what they need right now, quite honestly. But what are the trade chips Steve Yzerman has to work with that you think could be moved, but still not deplete your farm system? Because I keep hearing about all these really good players at Grand Rapids, and I get it because they had a really good season, even though they were disappointing in the playoffs. But I mean, if they're that good, how come they're not forcing the hand at the next level? So feed us a little bit of information on that, if you could.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually, why I have Pettersson in that scenario, right? Is not because I think he's the best possible player they could add, or he's not without warts, but because the last 2 years he's had where he has really struggled, I think lower the asset cost to acquire him while still having, a guy who is at least a 50-point guy. I think he's more likely a 60 to 70-point guy. And there's at least that sliver of a chance that he gets back to being an 80-plus point guy, right? And I don't think you're going to find that anywhere else for the kind of depleted cost that Elias Pettersson has. Now, the contract is massive. It's way too high. It's $11.6 something million for 6 more years, and that's way too much money. But again, compared to what's on the free agent class, he's younger. He's got at least as good a track record as the top players. So there's something to that, and he can play center, a two-way center, smart player. But I bring him up mainly because of the warts, and then because I think that the Red Wings farm system, there's good players there, right? Branson Nygaard, Nate Danielson, Axel Sandin Pellikka, Carter Bear. I really like the defenseman Anton Johansson in Grand Rapids, but stars, I don't think those are stars. I think those are good players. Those are complementary players. Branson Nygaard certainly seems geared for the playoffs, and I could see kind of him becoming a fan favorite at that time of year. But I still, do I think he's like a 70-point winger? No, that's not what I see. I think he could be a 30-goal scoring, hard to play against guy, and that usually lives more in like the 50-point range. And he might be their best prospect. Carter Bear is very talented as well. I think kind of fits a similar mold. So to your point, I don't think there's a Lucas Raymond or a Moritz Seider or a Simon Edvinsson, right on the doorstep or anything like that. And their strength of their system is really quantity. And that doesn't mean there's not quality, but it's that there's a good volume of players who I think are going to play and are going to play real meaningful roles, more so than guys who are going to lead you in scoring, lead you in minutes.
Yeah, I don't know how much difference makers there are in that. I wonder if we've been sold a bit of a bill of goods a little bit regarding the minor league system. I noticed you didn't bring up a name like Robert Thomas, who you brought up during the season at the trade deadline, a guy who I really like. I think he would be a really good fit for Detroit. Besides Pettersson, is there anybody else out there that you think needs a fresh start? We hear all the rumors, Brady Tkachuk, Austin Matthews, that they're going to move on, so on and so forth. Is there anybody else out there you think is an ideal fit for this team and is gettable?
Well, Brady would be a dream for sure.
Yeah,
I think Dylan Larkin's USA Hockey ties are going to, at least give you a foot in the door with some USA Hockey guys if they shake loose. And you mentioned a couple of them there. Thomas, I did mention him at the trade deadline, and I just, the way that St. Louis has talked about him since, the way he played after the trade deadline, they're going to be doing kind of a changing of the guard in St. Louis managerially, from Doug Armstrong to Alexander Steen. And, after the way he finished, the way they talked about him, my guess is he doesn't get traded this summer. Never say never. I would make an offer that makes him have to think about it, because I do think 26-year-old point per game center who can skate, who's a pretty complete player, that's exactly what you want. That would set you up really well if you could get him. My guess is he's not going to end up moving. And so certainly a name worth targeting and considering. It's just that, that was my rationale. I'm trying to think if there's anyone else who I really see shaking loose. Probably among like the star tier, that would pretty much be the extent of it. The guys that you said. I mean, I think Dallas finds a way to keep Jason Robertson.
Yeah.
Although obviously, there's some Michigan ties there. If he shakes loose, that's another one that you would have to call on. But yeah, I think, the one that I think you could pipe dream on is Brady Tkachuk, but then it's always, would Ottawa really want to trade him within the division? My guess would be probably they want to avoid that if at all possible.
Yeah, and what would you have to give up? A quick thought, real quick. So I know you're up against it, and so am I. I like Lucas Raymond. There's no question. I think he's a good player. He's not a superstar, though, right? I mean, we seem to be taking guys with the Red Wings, similar to what we've done with the Tigers in the past, making good players great players almost iconic. He's a good player, but he's not a great player, is he?
I think it's that he can become one. I mean, you look at where he was at in 2024-25, the 80-point year. At that time, I think he was 22 years old. That puts you in really good historical company that you have a chance to be like a 90-plus point, maybe even threatening a 100-point player. And you go count how many of those there are in the league. There are not many. I think anyone who makes it into that 90-plus point range, you got to consider him a superstar. Do I think he's a superstar today? No. But I think there have been times where he's tracked like that. I thought that, this past season there was some disappointment too, especially kind of after the Olympic break, second straight year that was kind of the case. But I think he also played through some injuries this year, very early in the year. It looked clear to me that he had sustained a shoulder injury. And so when I see that his goal scoring was down, that's, one of the first things I think of. So I think he can get there. But today, I think the only superstar you could say the Red Wings have today is Moritz Seider, who's one of the 10 best defensemen in the league.
Agreed 100%. Great stuff, man. Max, thanks a lot. I know you've been busy. We always appreciate the time. You do such a great job of covering the team, the league as well for The Athletic, and we appreciate you filling in some holes for us. Have a great week, my friend.
Thanks, Shep. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Max Bultman from The Athletic. Thank you for giving us some time on the chat and on the Sports Network. We hope you're back with us tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock. Don't forget the huge show later on today at 3. Have a great Wednesday, everybody.
Huge here for my good friend Josh Garvey and the team at Dorn Mayhew, West Michigan, one of the world's top accounting, CPA, and business firms. Their worldwide headquarters are in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state. And Josh and his team connect with all the sports fans and businesses across